Hey all, I'm traveling for work this week, but I wanted to post something because I still like to continue working. I know my spread videos are not that popular, but this was an interesting one. I really love the death card in the Wild Unknown deck because to me it speaks to the way ending something can fertilize ground for something new. So it's literally like the decomposition of something can fertilize the ground for new things to happen. So I call this spread Don't Fear the Reaper. And it uses this card as a significator. You can use any deck, but I really like this card in this deck. And what it does is it asks, what's something that I need to end in order to move on, in order to move forward. So I drew this. This is a completely, randomly drawn spread. I drew this and posted it on my Instagram page. But I wanted to share it because I really liked what it had to say. So what needs to end is the Ace of Wands. And this, again, if you want to talk about context, is interesting, right? Because aces are almost always read as positive. So why would you want a beginning to end? Well, in my case, I think what this represents is actually the fire element burning yourself out. There's this explosive fire energy, right? So what needs to end is the concept of trying to begin every project, do everything, burning yourself out, burning the candle at both ends. What that's causing is chaos and conflict. Again, more Wands energy, right? So where the Five of Wands, even in Rider-Waite, you sort of get a similar energy in this sort of more pippish deck. Chaos and conflict, this sort of like erratic energy. What can help you end that? Strength. So you've got this inner ability to gently master your environment, to gently take control and sort of lead. You have the ability within you. This will help you end this. So ending this chaotic burning yourself out can lead to a real abundant, practical culmination of energies that's more useful than the tendency to start a bunch of shit and never get around to finishing it. So again, what I like about this spread is sort of that it embraces this idea in a very appropriate way. It also really embraces the energy of this card in this particular deck, but you could use any deck. I also like this reading because it talks about context, right? Aces we almost always read as positive, but in this case it's saying, no, that needs to end. So how do we read an ace in a negative way? In this case, the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Fire, burnout. So I really like this. I hope you do too. And again, it's another way we have to think about context. We have to think about, if this is something that needs to end, how can I read a traditionally positive card in a negative way? This is often a positive card to me too, because I think of the Five of Wands as traditionally playful conflict, but in this case there's a sense of chaos to it, which I think is really appropriate. This is a appropriate card for a help position. This is a positive card and a positive result. What if we had switched them? So what if I read it this way? What's causing, or what's this causing? I could read it differently and say focusing too much on this is making me, I could say, maybe fantasize too much about abundance, or I could say that the distraction of the fire energy is distracting me from my ultimate goals and my ultimate purposes in my life, my practical life. I could say there's a conflict between the fire and earth energy, that where I should be focusing on my vocation, I'm focusing more on practical matters because I'm so overwhelmed by all the creative ideas. What about this as a positive thing? So if I reverse these cards, what if this, ending this leads to this, right? What if ending this leads to chaos? Well, I could read this in a more positive way and say that ending this this starting of things and not finishing them will actually lead me to the midpoint of the project, looking at the 5. So I'll move finally beyond the initial point into a 5, into at least the halfway point. I can also say that this may lead me to a place of more healthy conflict, more healthy collaboration, more playful conflict, as I said down here. So again, the way that the way that context changes things, I read this negative, but if it becomes a positive, what does it mean? And likewise here. So what I have to do is look at the combination of things. What if this leads to something bad. This is something bad. Well, this is almost always a good card. I could always also read this Ten of Pentacles as like overindulgence, over practicality, being too realistic about something that maybe requires more fantasy, but you get the point. The idea is, how does the movement change things? But anyway, so there's just a quick little hit in 2 areas on a spread that I just sort of came up with based on this card, which I really like. A little bit about context and just a general cool spread that I hope you like. Hope you're having a good week.